Last year I made this list with 9 games that I was looking forward to in the year 2024, and it turns out all the ones that I was excited for that year were great. Or Hades 2, which I only briefly touched as I await its full release. Or didn't actually come out last year, but hey, good track record! So, as I formed my list this year, I started with 12 and stuck with those 12. But there are some others that have caught my eye, so this is not a comprehensive list, just the ones I'm currently most excited for. Let me know what you're looking forward to in the comments. Maybe you've thought of one that I missed. Now though, let me talk about the 12 games I'm excited for in 2025 in order of how excited I am for them, starting with our first holdover from last year's list. Number 12, Football Tactics in Glory World. Originally slated for 2024, the game didn't release last year for the perfectly understandable reason that it is a small indie team developing the game while their country is getting attacked by Russia. Ukrainian developers Creo Team made a great blend of turn-based tactics and sports game work in Football Tactics in Glory, and this new game promises to be all that and more. It will have the World Cup and national teams, it will have all the upgrades that the original game got via DLC, and it will have a whole new engine to run on that should help with future content plans as well. They teased my biggest hope for the games, which was women's teams before, so let's make it happen, people. With significant workshop mod support and the same tactical team building fun, I am definitely excited for Football Tactics in Glory World. But given there's very little for me to watch or get my hands on right now, my excitement is somewhat tempered. On top of that, the game will be releasing in early access in 2025, which is great and I'll be there for it. But it does also limit my excitement since I tend to wait for games to get to 1.0 before diving into them, even if I get them during early access, such as Hades 2 and Against the Storm. I am still eagerly awaiting Football Tactics in Glory World though. It has been a while since I was able to scratch that particular itch, and this is the game that's going to do it as soon as it releases. Number 11, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 Remake. This one may have ranked higher if I had gotten around to playing Dragon Quest III Remake before this video came out. Despite that, I am still excited to get back into the Dragon Quest series as I have only played 11 and I've heard generally good things about the DQ3 remake, which makes this remake also a likely candidate to be of similar quality, at least as a remake. The games themselves I don't know too much about, apart from Dragon Quest II being a bit of a black sheep of the franchise, and that they are connected with Dragon Quest III as part of the Erdrick trilogy. Given the great look of the remakes by Team Asano so far though, I'm hopeful that the whole trilogy will be a good time once I get around to playing them. I will probably start with the Dragon Quest III remake, but Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake are definitely on my list to play as well, and I'm hoping at some point we get actual direct footage of those remakes, since at the moment all we have is just the still image from the Dragon Quest III remake trailer. Number 10, Demon School. This is another game that was supposed to come out last year, but they delayed the release to this year. It is an indie turn-based RPG about a demon invasion coupled with some social simulation elements. I gave the demo a try on stream months ago during Steam Next Fest, and while the combat was more of a challenge than I expected, I enjoyed the experience and the characters. I loved the aesthetic in particular, and I think there's plenty to build on. Plus, the game isn't simply a traditional turn-based game, as there are enemy reactions and actions as you play, so you're always thinking and strategizing. And the game has my new favorite thing in RPGs, the ability to restart a battle from the beginning. Demon School has me intrigued, but there's still plenty I don't know, and my excitement hinges on the game being able to maintain the momentum and introduce new factors and interesting plot elements as the game goes on. Based on the demo, I've had a good time so far, and I hope that stays the case. Number 9, Alabaster Dawn. Alabaster Dawn is the next game from Radical Fish Games, the developers behind the incredible Crosscode. And I've been keeping track of this release since I played Crosscode and knew it as Project Terra. I loved Crosscode for its aesthetic, characters, combat, and plot, and Alabaster Dawn will hopefully have good characters and plot because I already am on board with the aesthetic and combat from what I've seen so far. In fact, I'd say the aesthetic is superior to Crosscode in that you can better understand terrain differences and other elements of the environment. Like Crosscode, Alabaster Dawn is also supposed to focus a good amount on puzzles, which is fine. Crosscode's puzzles were a little much for me, but I was able to muddle through along with some help from the assist mode. I have faith in the developers to produce a good product, but the game is lower on the list because, like with Football Tactics and Glory World, Alabaster Dawn is releasing in early access this year, and probably will not be getting to 1.0 this year as well. This is the final early access release for 2025 on this list though, so there's still plenty I want to get to this year. Number 8, Civilization 7. While Fire Emblem Awakening served as my gaming renaissance and the game that sparked my love of RPGs and JRPGs specifically, the Civilization series has just as important a place in my gaming history. Civilization 4 was the first game I ever picked out for myself. Civilization 5 still maintains the title as my most played game on Steam. Civilization 6 exists. I'm kidding, I enjoyed it too, but it's hard to compare to the first 2 games I played. Those hold a very special place in my heart. That brings us to this year when we get Civilization 7, and I'm still excited to see how things develop and grow. There are changes I'm really glad to see, such as navigable rivers, and others I'm more leery of, such as not having a unified civilization, you are the whole game. Civilization 7 has more eras and changing civilizations over time and evolving, and leaders who are just leaders in general and not necessarily political leaders. Like with all of the changes to the game's formula over the years, I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out in action. However, given the recent emphasis on DLC, Civilization 7 is a game I will likely check out others playing first and then get at a good deal later down the line once more of that extra content has been released, such as I did for Crusader Kings 3. I certainly wish that 2K wouldn't adopt this particular model, but if they are going to, it's likely to delay my initial playing of Civilization 7. Number 7, Lunar Remastered Collection. Last year, wow, it feels weird to say that, I was looking around for older games to play, which is how I ended up playing Parasite Eve towards the end of the year, but I had other games in mind too, one of which was the Lunar series. Thus, when the announcement came of a remastered collection coming out in 2025, I knew that the timing was just too good. The universe was giving the sign to give the games a try. Even if I had not already been doing research on that front though, it's likely that the Lunar Remastered Collection would have caught my eye regardless because of my recent success with other remastered collections such as Baten Kaitos, and it's a classic turn-based game that looks good even by today's standards. There's still a lot I don't know about the Lunar games, but the look is good enough and the praise the games get are enough to make me more than happy to pull the trigger on the collection and enjoy mostly blindly. Number 6, Atilia Yumia. 2025 was going to be the year that I got into Atilia finally, and then the voters voted for Atilia Ryza as a streaming game, so December 2024 into 2025 is going to be the year I get into Atilia, it seems. I already knew I wanted to keep an eye out for the next proper mainline release for Atilia, and Yumia looked really good to begin with. It does also seem different from other titles in the series with a more serious narrative and background. We've got familial trauma and discrimination, plus the crafting and alchemy that I'm already enjoying in Atilia Ryza. Yumia is already a very intriguing character, the setting seems great, I love the art style and the action that I'm seeing so far. Probably the only thing holding me back on my excitement for Atilia Yumia is the absence of an English dub, but that was to be predicted after the success of Ryza without one. Number 5, Tales of Graces F Remastered. I will be talking more about the Tales of Remastered project in the future, but just know that part of my excitement for Tales of Graces F Remastered is the prospect of more in the future. The Tales of series is one that I will continue to come back to when the opportunity arises. I'll admit I have my ups and downs with the series, but the ups are so great that I'm more than happy to hop on whenever a new game becomes available. From what I've seen of Tales of Graces so far, I like the look of the characters and story, but the main thing I want to see is the combat in action. Tales of Arise specifically modeled the evasion and countering system on Tales of Graces, and that was one of my favorite aspects of Arise, so I'm ready to see the system that inspired it. On the whole though, I'm still trying to go in as blind as I can be, so I'll be ready to enjoy the ride. Number 4, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I wasn't sure this was going to happen before the Switch 2 came out, but Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition will complete the journey of getting all the Xenoblade games on the Switch. I know it's a different sort of title from the numbered entries to the series, but I'm more than ready to see another Xenoblade adventure. Whether it's exploration, combat, or story, the series has never let me down so far, and I've always heard great praise for X, especially on the exploration side of things. Gimme that big mech, and let's fly. The combat is going to be a refreshing return as well, and the story and characters, well, I just hope that they amuse and excite me for this game and for what is to come in the future. Number 3. Suikoden 1 and 2 Remastered. Having played and beaten Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes in 2024, I now feel more equipped to understand and play the remasters for Suikoden 1 and 2. For years, I've heard how good these games are, how rich the world and characters are, and how everything comes together to give a monumental story. I am a sucker for a good RPG story, and the Suikoden series has always been a blind spot in my story-rich RPG history. No longer though, because the remasters are nearly here, and as I said earlier, my history with remaster collections has been good so far, so I'm confident that trend will continue with these. It also helps the Suikoden games cause when I have Callie Q hyping these games up for me constantly. Check him out if you want to hear more about the series, and stay tuned here for more as well. Number 2. Trails through Daybreak 2. The first Daybreak game was a great start to the Calvert arc. The most self-contained intro game to an arc since Trails from Zero, which gives Daybreak 2 plenty of ways to go. I know it's considered one of the more divisive Trails entries, but I love this series even when it's at its most inexplicable mumbo-jumbo stage. Daybreak 2 promises an even better version of a combat system I already enjoy, more time with characters I grew to love, and others I found intriguing in the first game, and the return of mini-games. While I'm sure that's not all the game has to offer, that's all it needs to offer me a great time. I also don't have to wait long for it, as the release date is about a month away now, depending on how long it takes Rio to make the video, so Valentine's Day 2025 can't come soon enough, at least in this context. There is only one game, though, that tops Daybreak 2 on the excitement meter, and I don't think this one is going to come as a surprise to those who have watched my videos before. Number 1. Trails in the Sky the First. Trails in the Sky First Chapter is already a great game, one that I'm sure many would enjoy if they gave it a chance. However, I understand that it is somewhat outdated, especially when it comes to the gameplay systems of the series now. So enter Trails in the Sky the First, the remake of that first title that launched the Trails series. Now, in a gorgeously remade Liberl, I can experience Estelle Bright's journey again, alongside some of my favorite characters from the original game. Just look at Chloe! Plus, the combat looks so great, and the additional emphasis on animation is going to help make battles flashier and cooler, and also highlight characters' personalities even more, as we can already see with Estelle in the trailers. This is also the first ever simultaneous worldwide release for a Falcom game, and there is no better title to hold that title. Certainly, I still have plenty of questions about how the localization will be handled and the voices of the various characters, plus the disappointment that it is unlikely the chess quotes will remain in this release, but those are minor quibbles when it comes to facing down the first remake I will play of a game already near and dear to my heart. I also revel in the chance to get more people into the Trails series with this entry, and I hope it sells well, because Trails in the Sky Second Chapter and Trails in the Sky the Third in this style would go so hard. So there you have it, the 12 games I'm most excited for going into 2025. Apologies to Claire Obscure Expedition 33 as the informal 13th game on the list, but either way, I am assured that this is going to be another great year for gaming, and that's without even knowing exactly what will get released later in the year. Is Kai no Kiseki also going to come this year? What about the initial games for the newest Nintendo console? What does Team Asano have cooking up, because they're hinting at stuff? Is it possible my game of the year isn't even on this list like what happened with Unicorn Overlord last year? So much to play and find out, but now it's your turn. What games are you most looking forward to in 2025, and are there any that I included here that have caught your eye as well? Let me know in the comments after leaving the video a like, and let's enjoy another year of games, big and small. Have a great day, and happy gaming.